Sup, guys? It's Corrupted, and today we're back with my. I want to say it's weird. I haven't seen anyone talk about it. My Vex build. It's very. I want to say different. So the entire idea of this build is I'm trying to abuse the health gate mechanic that is in Borderlands series in general, and we have had reports from people that got to play the game that the health gate mechanic is still in the game. And so, for those who don't know, in Borderlands, there's a health gate mechanic where a instance of damage will always stop at, I believe I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's like leave you at like 49% health or something like that. And then it can kill you after that point. But no instance of damage can completely one-shot you, is basically the most important thing. So, to make Vex interesting to me, I wanted to just abuse the crap out of that mechanic. Basically, just teetering on the edge the entire time was my idea. Apologize for the voice, it's a little hoarse. But my plan was to just abuse that mechanic and get as much lifesteal as possible to make it really, really hard to die. Like, really hard to die. And then just use the incarnate action skill to just feel like a demon. Like, to feel like you go demon mode and just blow people up. It's sort of like how I wish the dark magic user in the Wonderlands worked, is how I'm trying to make Vex work, is basically just turning her into a warlock from D&D was my idea, with just a ton of lifesteal and just have all those synergies work together to stay alive forever. And it's important because Gearbox was cool enough to give us the ability to turn lifesteal into damage, and we'll see that in the tree as we go down it. So I'm gonna first grab this kill skill because it's so strong. You get critical damage and weapon handling. So if that is 5 points in the final build and it goes up to 10% per stack and you get 3 stacks, that's going to be huge. Whenever you get a kill skill, you just get 30% crit damage every 3 kills. That's going to be huge. That's a massive amount of damage, so we're definitely going to take that. And then we're going to take Bloodletter, since getting a crit with your gun will tie into grave sites. We'll get the ability to apply bleed, and also we're trying to stay attuned to kinetic all the time. Like, we're not trying to change to other gun elements or anything, just so we can get this. And it's a stacking effect too, which is huge. And then we're going to go Vex kill skills, green, increase max stacks. So if this gives you 3, lets all your kill skills stacks to 3, that's going to go up to 60% if that's how it works. And then I just threw 2 points in here because I'm assuming that's going to be 8% skill duration. Will be good for Incarnate since it's activate and you're in the full mode thing. Then we're going to come down here and increase our skill damage. So I'm pretty sure this is how this is going to work. I'm pretty sure Bloodletter is going to scale off skill damage because of how other things work. Like how attunement will scale off skill damage. Like the percentage of attunement scales off skill damage. So I'm assuming Bloodletter will too. And other things in people's gear and skills do, like Harlow's Entanglement scales off skill damage. So I'm assuming putting the points into this skill damage will make the bleed do more. And we're just trying to bleed people because we'll heal off of it. So if that's another 30% to the bleed, that's huge, especially since it scales directly off your gun damage. Like, imagine getting a crit with like a sniper rifle or something, and it's just chunking people because it can stack 4 or 20 times, which is crazy on a boss. And then we're taking Essence Leech. it gives you flat lifesteal all the time. And so if that is 10% lifesteal all the time, we're just running around hitting people with our guns and action skill, just trying to stay at full health all the time. And then we're going to take Grave Harvest just because it gives us a kill skill that does more damage that we can heal off of. The other ones, you can take any of them, honestly. Grave Harvest sounds the most fun just because it gives you an extra thing to do in the build. And it also gives you back a chunk of your action skill duration every time it happens. Like every time you blow one up. So that's why I'm taking it, because I want to be in my action skill and shoot the little orb that you get to shoot all the time. But actually, we're not trying to shoot the orb. You'll see in a second. So we get the lifesteal. And then, this is the thing, Blood is Power. The entire idea for this build comes from these two perks. So we get, I'm assuming that's going to be 10% lifesteal all the time. And then we grab this, Blood is Power. And you gain bonus kinetic damage based on lifesteal while your health is full. So if that goes up to 300% of lifesteal, so let's say that's 10% lifesteal, you just get 30% bonus damage all the time, plus any other lifesteal effects that you have. Which also, this has lifesteal, which is really cool. And so this one, it makes it to where Eldritch Blast, like the special blast that you get from your action skill, sacrifices health, but becomes a wave instead of the little grenade orb thing, like Key Blast thing. And when it hits enemies, they take damage, and it also lets you heal your allies, which is really cool. And then you gain bonus damage and healing based on the sacrificed health. And then it has no cooldown, so you can just spam it. But if you activate it 5 times, you die. If you activate it 5 times without healing. So I'm just trying to heal massively off this while I'm shooting my gun with that 10% lifesteal. Just constantly eat my health, shoot back to full, eat health, shoot back to full, eat health, shoot back to full. That way I can get the Blood is Power ability on my guns. And then we're going into the Phase Familiar tree, just because this tree has a really cool interaction that I like that we'll get to in a second. Take this, just because 15% movement speed for no reason is beautiful. And also, damage reduction in this game got reworked slightly from 3 and 2, so it's not terrible anymore. So taking that little bit will always help. Then throwing 5 points into Grave Substance or Sustenance. Kill skill, you get a chunk of your action skill back. So, which is huge. It also doesn't say it has diminishing returns. So theoretically, we could stay in there forever. Theoretically, we can stay in Incarnate forever. At least that's what I'm hoping. And that way you can just constantly chunk people's HP and just stay in it forever. And then got 2 in here just to have more action skill damage, because we need to get down more, and none of the others really did anything I wanted it to do. Like, Overprotective might be better. Not really sure. Gonna have to test the damage of the action skill and see how much that 6% matters, because the 8% might be just that much better. The 8% overshield every time you get a kill. And we took that one perk that gives max stacks. So if this ends up giving you like a massive overshield, Overprotective is just simply better for this particular build. But it's one of those, I gotta test it to make sure it gives that much of an overshield to be worth it. And then we're gonna grab Morning. Kill skills get more effectiveness. So if that's 30% effectiveness, that would make the perks back over here in the Incarnate tree, like, where's it at? That one. So if 30%, that's another 10% at 3 stacks. And then if it's another stack there, that's huge. That's like a 75-ish percent, depending on how the multipliers go together. It turns this perk into 30% more crit damage into theoretically 75% between given extra stacks and effectiveness. So that just sounds insane. And then it also works with some of the other stuff in here. Which one was it? I'm trying to remember. There it is. To just chunk your action skill back. And if it works how I think it does with Overprotective, we're taking Overprotective over Blood is Magic just because worth. But that's like neither here nor there. And then we're going to gains increased elemental. It sounds useless because we're using kinetic, but the other one's more useless. So that's why we're taking that one. And we're putting 1 point in a sacrificial essence because that's actually a lot of bonus damage. Even though we can only get one. So that's 15% damage at 10 stacks, right? But we saw earlier, it gets 3 extra stacks. And then it's going to be 30% higher. So the 15 will go up to what's that? 18%. So off just 1 point, just for doing like what you're supposed to do. And just dealing damage. And it increases damage dealt, so it should be a multiplicative increase. If I didn't want Heart Piercer, I totally would get 5 points into this. But I'm kind of hoping I can find a class mod that puts points in the Sacrificial Essence. That way I can just get that huge damage buff. And just run around like with her evil demon siren rings and just blow stuff up all the time. It just sounds super cool. And also you can always end it early when there's no enemies. But yeah, that's kind of my plan for Vex. Now the augment, like I said, is up in the air. The phase explosion restore shield might be really good. Might be. I need to test it. Especially if, like, depending on the type of shields in the game. That might be really good. And the Geist Wave is kind of interesting. Doing Ordnance just to get that extra multiplier. Personally, I don't really like Witchy Trigger Finger. But it's like one of those things, like, if you like it, you like it. Because it does give you a decent amount of gun damage. I'm just not trying to do a lot of gun damage directly. I'm trying to get my multipliers from other places. But there's that. And then there's Energy Vampire, which might actually be the best one. Like, it might be the best one. Like, the more I look at it, the more I read this, the more I like it than this one. Actually. But it's like, I'm going to have to test it. Like, how much more time does Grave Harvest give you? Because if it turns out, like, you never notice it, then Energy Vampire is just going to be superior. Because of the keeping your overshield. And then your overshield lets Blood is Power be even higher multipliers. Because it's just bonus damage. And in the past, in Borderlands games, if it just says damage, it's a multiplicative thing. Like gun damage, elemental damage was multiplicative in 3, but like in other games, it just depends how it works. But since it just says damage, just like big word damage, I'm assuming it'll be multiplicative. So if this is a multiplicative multiplier with everything else, it should result in a fuck ton of extra damage while your health is full. So it's just one of those things gonna have to test. And then Heart Piercer just gives you basically a super grenade every so often. But yeah, that's my plan for Vex. Hope you guys like it. I have another weirder build for Vex that I'm like labbing right now. I don't know if it'll actually work. The other build sounds terrible, but it's funny. Um, I'm gonna try to upload that later today, uh, so y'all can see what I'm cooking with Vex in general. Be sure to check out the Twitch in the description, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for stopping by. Appreciate y'all.